Trillsinatra part, whatever. We ain't doing all that. We getting into it. It's abundance, baby. It's abundance. It's abundance. So I was in my little spot. Y'all know, ever since I've been making videos, I always let y'all know. Like I find my little spots that I just hang out and I just, meditate my energy and I chill. I vibe. When I vibe, listen to myself, listen to my thoughts, right? Dive deep into the thoughts that I have, and then I complete them and come to a conclusion, and then get them thoughts out of my head. Slow down time, not time itself, but slow down the slow down the speed of the uploads and the download, not the downloads, but the uploads of the energy and the time and the whole day that I've spent, right? Take into account of my energy, right? I got into that. And as I got into it, I was thinking, right? Damn, for so long I've been not living, but I've just been in survival mode. Because I'm not in survival mode anymore, I was able to think about how I was in survival mode. And me saying that right there helped me realize something, right? Whenever you think about something, just like seeing that car that you thought about getting, or you know always seeing specific advertisements towards things that you want or talk about, it's like that. It's really like that. when you get that when you get that feeling, like when you start to recollect things and you start to recollect your thoughts. Hello. When you start to recollect your thoughts and you start to think about the things that you've overcame, that's when you start to realize you're no longer in that space anymore. And once you're no longer in that space anymore, that's when you start to feel a sense of relief. So basically, I was feeling that sense of relief because I'm no longer in survival mode. That's what we're talking about, being in survival mode. Feeling that sense of relief since I'm no longer in survival mode, thinking about it, thinking about all the things that happened prior, and certain things. Like I said, life is not a circle, it's a spiral. But what I say comes full circle because it has to tie in to the whole subject, topic of discussion. So when I come back around to certain things, the way that I handle myself, the way that I manage my energy, and the way that I respond to situation and instances is completely different. It's completely different. And it happens when you have certain conversations, or you start to speak to you start to speak to people, and you start to meet new people, but the same energies of the past. When you start to meet those energies of the past, that's when your test comes in, because as I've always been saying, whenever the tests and the battles come, I'm already ready because I've been in study. So obstacles and challenges is going to find me well educated. It's going to find me in study. It's going to find me with the answers when the time comes. It might take a little bit. I'm a little slow to learn certain things, and that's okay. Everybody is not, you know, quick to get certain logical things, but we're quick to get certain spiritual things. So when I tie it into logic, it takes a little bit, but I do get it. I ain't come on here to stay long. I came on here to say it feels good, you know, just feeling comfortable with acceptance. And you might think that you've accepted certain things, but it takes a lot for you to accept because it took a lot for us to accept this system. And I realized that acceptance is the level after knowing. When you get to the level of belief, you still got to get to the level of knowing. And then after you get to the level of knowing, that's when you start to accept. So as I started to accept, you know, just accept. Not not condone, not allow, not conform, not be influenced by, but just accept, right? Like I can accept a spoon for what it is. I can accept a bowl for what it is. I can accept a cup for what it is. I can accept people for who they are. And I can accept me for who I am. But when you get to the subject, the topic of discussion, like I said, full circle, and you start to master those topics and those subjects, because we're in school, because Earth is a school. So when you start to master those topics, right, that just means, and I'm not looking at anything. I just don't like to. I'm still shy, so I'm not gonna sit here and stare at the camera like a fucking robot. I'm not a robot. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna let my eyes, go off into the distance and just start daydreaming, and let the Most High channel, right? Like I said, I'm always and at all times connected to the source. I don't speak to people, especially outside of work. I don't speak to people. And when I do, it's coming out of meditation and it's coming out of prayer. I'm like a moving monk, right? Like Bulletproof Monk, the movie when he was in the city, but he wasn't of the city. Yeah, I'm like that. But anyway, let me get back on track. When you're in those subjects and you're in those classes and you're trying to master those subjects and those things that you love and those things that you are, right? You get to that acceptance, right? You accept. And when you start to accept things, it begins to allow you to forgive more of yourself for what you previously accepted. Holy shit. I just realized that. Good thing I came on here because I would have never realized that if I didn't come on here. I might have realized it off camera, but I'm glad that I'm doing it live and I just realized it live. Right? So accepting things, it helps you with forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for what you've accepted previously, right? So you don't go back to who you were. Like when people say, "Oh, if I knew then what I knew now," you you probably would have forgotten everything that you knew then, and you would have only knew what you know now. And then the situation would be different, like traveling, like going into the future or going into the past and trying to be better than the people in the past because you from the future. They end up killing you, or they end up, doing whatever, because you come into a different time, knowing what they don't know. And we know, when people don't know stuff and don't understand stuff, they, you know what's it called? They probe it to death. So if you want to not repeat the things that you have, done in the past, you learn from them. And as you go forward in the future, you know now that it's going to come again. You don't have to go back in the past to relive things, because if you didn't learn the lesson then, you're going to be repeating that lesson now, and then tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. But once you accept and you rise above that level of knowing, and you begin the level of acceptance, it's going to be a whole heap, a poo poo platter. It's going to be a whole heap of poo poo toilet paper coming at you, of things that you know, don't want to accept, or don't want to conform to anymore. And it's going to continue until you accept and conquer acceptance. I don't know what you have to accept. I know what I have to accept, and I've had to accept. So it's different for all of us. But it's a message from the mountain, the beekeeper, the lion prince of fire, the evening star, Lieutenant 7, the left hand of God. And I really mean it. I really mean it. People, they use these titles for political or public gain. I don't. This is me. This is what I am. I was made, and this is what I am. And I can't try to change that like I have before. I can't conform like I have before, because I'm better than I was before. And since I'm better, and I know the past has to be in the past, and you just gotta let that go. But I do appreciate each and every one of y'all, you know, coming on here. And it's like, when you're showing off without, bragging. It makes you feel shy, because the compliments is gonna start coming in, the comments is gonna be coming in as well. But you also gotta be willing and able to accept it, right? I need a laptop. I need a laptop, because when I get a laptop, it's gonna be books galore. I'm gonna be writing, not writing. Well, I'm gonna be typing, but I'll also be publishing the current books that's not growing dust, because they're in bags and they're zipped up. But those bags gotta get unpacked. That's what I meant when I pulled up to the pearly gates, and I had luggage and I had baggage. I've been writing. I've been writing like Biggie when he was locked up. Came out of jail with a you know, whole bunch of good music. But that's how it is when you go into that. When you go on that journey, and you realize that you gotta go alone, it turns you into, it don't turn you into, it just helps you evolve your being. It helps you, it helps a lot, for real, for real. But I hope this helps. And I'm gonna end this here. So, I appreciate y'all. It's currently 2:59, almost 3 o'clock. So let's go meditate.